So now I want to rebuild with the fetch API what I already built with XMLHttpRequest in the previous video. Now definitely check out that video if you haven't already, of course, therefore. In there, we used XMLHttpRequest in a utility function, and we promisified it by wrapping it with a promise, so that we can send a GET and a POST request, append data, and also handle errors. We also made sure we attached the right header. Now we'll rebuild the same thing with the fetch API. So for that, let's start with the GET request. The fetch API is a relatively modern addition to the browser, and not all browsers support it. Especially older browsers, Internet Explorer, of course, does not support it. So if you need support for that and you don't want to add a polyfill or anything like that, you should use XMLHttpRequest. Here, however, I'm working in Chrome, so I'll use the fetch API, and we can use it by calling fetch. This is a globally available function made available by the browser in JavaScript, and you can use it to send a HTTP request. Now we're using the request dummy API here, and in there you get a couple of dummy endpoints to which you can send requests. They're not returning real data, and you can't create real data there, but you can fake all these operations. And here I want to get a list of users. For that, we can send a GET request to this URL, which is exactly the same thing we did with the XML HTTP So it's this URL I want to send a request to. And therefore here, on the fetch function, we just have to pass in that URL. Now without any additional configuration, this will send a GET request to that URL, which is exactly what I want. Now fetch, unlike XMLHttpRequest, by default uses promises. So without any extra work, without wrapping it with a promise manually, we can add a then method here and utilize our response. Now if we console log the response here, let's see what we get. If we save that and we then make sure in index.html that we import fetch.js here instead of xhr.js, we can go back to our little application here, simply opened with a double click. We need no dev server for that. And if we now reload that and click get data, we get our response object. Now in that object, we get a couple of interesting features. We get the status code, whether the response was treated as okay, so if it was successful, has a 200-ish status code essentially. We got the URL, we got some headers that were part of the response, and we got the body. And now the body is a readable stream. And that's not too great because we can't really work with a readable stream here. I want the snapshot. I want the snapshot of the returned data. I want the data which this request should actually return, which should look like this. Now, for that, the fetch API has a utility method we can call on the response object, and that's response.json. If the response body should be JSON data, which it should be for this dummy API, then this will convert the streamed body into a snapshot and automatically parse JSON data to native JavaScript data types. If you have a different data format, let's say text, you also have a text method which transforms the stream to a snapshot and does not do the JSON parsing, for example. And you get a couple of other methods as well. So we need to call this to convert our streamed body into a snapshot and to also then, as an extra convenience, convert the JSON data to JavaScript data types. Now, the JSON method itself returns a promise. So we can return the result of this and add another then method to this promise chain. In promises, or when working with promises, we can chain multiple then methods to execute multiple steps. And this return promise here is basically merged with this main promise chain, and in the next then block, we therefore have access to the result this promise, the promise created by the JSON method, resolves to, which will be our response data here. So the response data is now the interesting part. Let's log it and see if this is now the data we expect. If we save that, and we now reload and click on get data, this looks much better. So this is actually all we need for getting the data. You could of course now render this on the screen, but it's not really what I want to show here. Instead, this is how we can use the fetch API here and how we can get data, transform it, and use it. Now let's also make sure we can send data. Now for that, we can of course duplicate this code here and just make sure we send a post request there. Now, just as with the XML HTTP request, I'm not the biggest fan of code duplication, though at least with the fetch API, we have less overhead. We don't have all these extra steps we had with XML HTTP request. So I think it would be fine to indeed execute it again like this without any wrapping utility function. Nonetheless, I want to create one. I'll name it send HTTP request here as well. And this should be a function that takes a method and a URL and data that should be attached. And in there, I want to send the fetch request, return the result of that, and now, of course, exchange this URL for the URL argument here, and then also make sure we later utilize the method and so on. Now, first of all, here with getData, I therefore want to call send HTTP request here. Want to send a get request here, of course, and then to this URL. And now regarding the handling of the response, I think this extraction of the response body, that's something that fits quite well into this utility function. But of course, what we do with the response data should not go in there. So I'll remove that last step in the utility function. And here, when we call send HTTP request, we therefore can get rid of that response data extraction step, and we get the response data right away because we do the extraction in the utility function. So we have that now. We have our response data, which we log now. And let's verify that this still works by reloading and clicking on get data. Looks good. And now we can utilize send HTTP request also here when we try to send data. Here I want to send a post request, and the URL actually should be this register URL here. So API/register. And therefore here, I'll copy that URL, but I'll change users here for register. Now here we also want to append some data, and that can be a JavaScript object here. Now to get a success response, as we learned in the last video, we have to send exactly this data here. So I'll copy that into my object. However, convert it to a normal JavaScript object. We don't need the quotes around the object keys here. And with that, we should be good, almost. I also want to handle any response data we're getting back so that we can see whether we succeeded or not, like this. And with that, we just need to tweak send HTTP request to make sure that in there, we do utilize the method and the data, because right now that is not happening. Right now, we're always just sending a get request. Now to tweak that request, we can pass a second argument to fetch. This is an object that allows us to configure the outgoing request. If you hit Control Space here in Visual Studio Code, you see there are a bunch of things you can configure, a lot of niche options which you don't need that often. But for example, you can set the method, and that by default is set to get, and therefore you don't need to set it if you always want to send a get request. But here I want to set it to method, so to the argument value I'm getting here, so that we are able to dynamically set this and to either send a get or maybe also a post request. Now we also can add body here to attach a body to the outgoing request. Now the body here should be JSON data, and therefore I'll JSON stringify the data package we're getting. This might be undefined, like in this scenario here, but then we just don't add any body, and we don't need any body for a get request, and therefore this shouldn't be an issue. So now we have the body which is added here, and with that we're almost there. In the last video we also learned that we need to attach a header, the content type header, to make sure the API doesn't fail, and hence we should do this here as well. For that we can add a headers object, and now I want to check if data is set with a ternary expression. If it is truthy, then headers should be an object that includes a content type key where the value is application/JSON. Otherwise, I want to add an empty object. And this basically is how you add headers with the fetch API. You can have as many key value pairs here as you want in this object, and they will be appended as headers to the outgoing request. Here I'm using the content type header with this default value. Otherwise, if data is falsy, I'm setting this to an empty object, which means I don't add any special headers. So now this should be more flexible. And if we now check this with that data we found on the official docs, after saving everything, if we reload this page and we click on post data, that's looking quite good. That is a success response. Now let's also simulate an error. And to do that, we can comment out the password so that we don't send the password data. If we do that and we save it and reload, if we now click post data, we get an error here. The problem is we still get the log from line 25, which means we still make it into this success then block. So maybe try adding catch here, right? Add catch any potential error, and then maybe log this error here. Of course, you could implement more sophisticated error handling here. Now, if we do that, let's see if we now get some output from line 29. Let's reload and click post data, and we don't. We get it from line 26, which still is our success case. This is exactly the same problem, in quotes, because it's actually the intended behavior, we saw in the last video with XMLHttpRequest. Errors which are not technical errors, which means errors which are not related to network issues or anything like that, but errors where we get a successful response where we just have a non-success status code like 400 or 500, are treated as successful responses by the Fetch API. And the same was the case for XMLHttpRequest. So we make it into the success handlers, so to say, even if we have an error status code, because technically it's a valid response. The request left our application without issues, and we got a response without issues, which is why no error is thrown by default. Now, of course, we nonetheless have an error case here. We're not happy with the result. We have an error which we want to handle. Now, for that, we can do something similar as before. In the success handler, we want to check the status code. Now, thankfully here, in our send HTTP request function, the response object has a status property which we can check. And this gives us the status code, and if that is greater or equal than 400, then we're not happy with the response. An alternative would have been to check the response.ok field, which is true for successful responses, so for 200-ish codes, and false otherwise. But this will work as well. So if this is greater or equal than 400, we know, here we should have checked for not okay. So here, if we have a code greater than 400 or equal to 400, then we have an error status code. So here we want to basically throw an error. And if we throw an error here in a then block, this will effectively reject the outer promise, so that in the promise chain, where we listen to that outer promise, we would make it into a catch block. So here we can throw a new error and maybe say something went wrong, but maybe we also want to add some extra content to the error. So actually, I want to create an error object here with new error. Something went wrong, where I add extra data, which should be my response body. And now that's where we have a problem with the Fetch API. The response body is not available in this step. You learned we have to parse it, and error responses are no difference because technically they're exactly the same kind of responses as success responses. So the body at this point here, in this then block here, is that streamed body, not the snapshot. So if I want to attach the response body here, that's just not possible. Now that's of course pretty annoying. What can we do to mitigate that? Well, we can cut that code for now. And in that if case here, we could actually call response.json, which gives us a promise, and now add a then block here. Therefore, we have a nested promise chain in this outer promise chain, which is never that great, but here actually it's a good solution, where we now will have our error response data, so to say. And now in here, we can create our error, assign the error response data to the data property of the error, and then throw error. And now we just need to return this inner promise chain here so that it becomes part of that outer promise chain. Because if we return something in that promise chain, we merge it into that promise chain, so to say. The something we return here itself is in the end a promise which is rejected because we throw an error inside of it. So that's what we do here in the error status code case. Since we return, we need no else statement, and otherwise we just return JSON like that. So now we either return a promise that will throw an error, or we return the body data. This is how we can handle it, but we need this extra inner, this wrapped promise chain here because of the way the body has to be parsed with the fetch API. With that, however, we should make it into this catch block here if we do have an error. And therefore, if we reload and click post data, now we get output from line 37. Something went wrong, which is my custom message, so that looks good. And line 37 now indeed is the catch block. And here we could also access error.data and retrieve that data I'm storing here in my custom error handling logic. So if I now reload and click post data, we see that error data is also part of the output. So this is how we can use the fetch API. Generally, it's nicer than XMLHttpRequest, has a nicer syntax, I'd say, a bit easier to use, less clunky, but browser support is worse, which means you might need a polyfill. And in addition, this error handling logic can be annoying. It's not that different from the error handling logic we have in XMLHttpRequest, but at least there we didn't have that extra response body parsing step. We do have that here in the fetch API, which means we have to find a solution like this inner wrapped promise chain. Nonetheless, of course, it's up to you which one you prefer. Fetch at least uses promises natively, which is a plus, and might have some other syntax features which you like, and therefore it is a bit more popular, but definitely XMLHttpRequest is still also getting used a lot. Actually, it's also getting used by the Ajax package, which is the package we'll have a look at in the last video of this mini-series.